Hey, Blog by Gamer here with another episode of They Made a Sequel? Wait. Why do I have my hair up? No, this joke's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid! There. Much better. So, hey guys, this is Zeromaster here, and you're probably wondering, why am I talking about Blondy's show? Well, it's Blondy's birthday, and I thought I'd do my own take on his show, so I could talk about two of my favorite games from this past generation. And the games we're going to talk about today are Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10. After Mega Man 8 was released in 1997, we didn't see a full OG series Mega Man game for a while. Mega Man and Base counts, I guess, but Japan got it for the Super Famicom in 1998, while we had to wait for the GBA port in 2002, and in my opinion, an inferior version. It wasn't until 11 years later, in 2008, that we got a true continuation of the series in Mega Man 9. Released September 22nd in North America, and then days later in Europe and Japan, yeah, we actually got this game first this time, Mega Man 9 went back to the classic gameplay, sound, and graphics of the early NES titles. Since most Mega Man fans consider 2 and 3 the best in the series, the game was mostly based on those games, bringing back the simpler jump and shoot mechanics that started the series, while borrowing features from later games like Rush from Mega Man 3 and Auto Shot from Mega Man 7. Needless to say, for retro gamers like myself, this was the holy grail of the Mega Man franchise. I couldn't freaking believe it. A classically done Mega Man game for current-gen consoles? It was what many fans of the series always wanted, and I'll never forget the feeling of seeing that trailer for the first time. I still weep manly tears whenever I see it. This was also the first Mega Man game I purchased on release day, and it still holds up as a great game today. But what about its sequel? Less than 2 years later, Mega Man 10 was released on March 1st, 2010, and again a few days later in Europe and Japan. Just like last time, I also purchased this game day one. As a sequel, the game improved in many areas on the previous game, but before we get into that, let's discuss the hype around these games. Mega Man 9 was a huge hit with the retro Mega Man fans, but when Mega Man 10 was announced, the general reaction from the fanbase was, really? I'll admit, my initial reaction was, okay. Mega Man X9 would have been cool, or even Mega Man Legends 3, but okay, I guess we can deal with another OG series game. Basically, the fans weren't that excited for this one, and I can see why. Mega Man 9 was hyped because we hadn't gotten a classically done Mega Man game in a long time, and 10 just felt like Capcom was trying to drive the series back into sequelitis, like they did back in the 80s and 90s. It felt like a cash grab, but hey, who am I to judge? At least there hasn't been a Mega Man 11. Yet. So yeah, I was less than excited until they announced a particular feature. They had a bass in the game? Fuck yeah! So in case you didn't know, I was a big fan of Rockman and Forte back in the day, and I always would play as Bass because he was one of my favorite characters from Mega Man 7, and I was dying to play as him. Seeing as the gameplay style that was established with Bass and Rockman and Forte was mostly kept intact for Mega Man 10, including the treble booster, I got really excited and I couldn't wait to get the game. And I mean, come on, can you resist that cute little chibi Bass sprite? No, you can't. So give Capcom some money. Not all of it. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Just enough. Yeah. So now that my initial reactions to the games are out of the way, let's compare them, and we'll start off with the story. In Mega Man 9, Dr. Light is framed by Dr. Wily, who even opens up a Swiss bank account so people can donate to him to make robots to combat Dr. Light's evil robots. Of course, Dr. Light is in prison, and it's up to Mega Man to prove his innocence. I gotta admit, for a Mega Man game storyline, this is really good. Hell, this is even better than the backstory at the start of Mega Man 4, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Oh, and that Swiss bank account? Fucking hilarious. And if Dr. Wily having a Swiss bank account doesn't yell bad guy stereotype, I don't know what does. As for Mega Man 10, the story revolves around a mysterious new virus called the Roboenza. Yes, that's what it's called. Strangely enough, Dr. Wily is the only one with the cure and all his robots have been infected, and not only that, but they destroyed his machine to make the vaccine. Dr. Light agrees to work with Dr. Wily to repair his machine, while in the meantime, Mega Man, Proto Man, and Bass set off to stop the infected robots. Comparatively, the story in Mega Man 10 is cringeworthingly awesome, and the Robo-Enza reminds me a lot of the Sigma virus from the Mega Man X series. While both storylines borrow elements from other Mega Man plotlines, Mega Man 9 handles this much better, so story-wise, Mega Man 9 is superior. Both games contain a wide variety of gameplay modes. For starters, each game has the standard game mode, which gives you the options to pick your characters and difficulties. However, in Mega Man 9, you can only choose normal mode until hard mode is unlocked, and Mega Man as a playable character, unless you purchase the Proto Man DLC. And yes, these games have DLC. It's Capcom, are you really surprised? Compared to Mega Man 10, where you can choose between easy and normal modes with the unlockable hard mode, and choose between Mega Man, Proto Man, or Bass after purchasing the DLC pack for his character. Both games also include challenges which consist of endless stages and other such stages, some of which are included while others are DLC. Both games also include achievements, some of ridiculous manner, and online leaderboards. However, comparing the two, Mega Man 10 just offers way more gameplay options. Point goes to number 10. Now onto the bosses. Each game has the standard Robot Masters and later Wily stage machines. Mega Man 9 consists of cool bosses such as Tornado Man, Concrete Man, Jewel Man, and Magma Man, as well as the first female Robot Master, Splash Woman. However, the game also has its silly bosses like Galaxy Man, Hornet Man, and Plug Man, who was personally developed by Keiji Inafune himself. Okay, really? Plug Man? Yeah, that won't end up being the butt of anyone's joke. I can't imagine where that idea came out of. Came out of the air. Later bosses include Angry Curling Stones, a Sharkpedo, a hybrid of the Nightmare King from X6 and the infamous Rock Monster, and of course the Wily machines. The game also includes Fake Man as a boss to the additional stage that can be purchased as DLC. In terms of the bosses in Mega Man 10, it's the same affair. The cool bosses consist of Blade Man, Commando Man, Chill Man, Strike Man, Nitro Man, and Solar Man, while the silly bosses are left to Pump Man and Sheep Man. Now I've heard tons of people complain about both these bosses, and with Sheep Man I can understand, but Pump Man? Really guys? Compared to previous shield weapon bosses, he's no more lamer than Plant Man. Later bosses are a real treat, like for instance, in the first Wily stage, you face up against Elect Man, Wood Man, Gemini Man, Ring Man, Napalm Man, Flame Man, Slash Man, Frost Man, and Tornado Man. That's fucking awesome! Now they are technically simulations, but this takes the Mega Man 3 concept of reusing old bosses and supercharges it. Plus, seeing 8-bit sprites for Slash Man and Frost Man are just awesome. Continuing on, there's a giant enemy crab, a mix of the wall boss from Mega Man 2 and the Rock Monster again, and the Wily machines. By the way, I can't decide which Wily machines are better, the dinosaur from Mega Man 9 or the pirate ship from 10. Just like the previous game, there are DLC stages which include additional bosses, but unlike Mega Man 9, which included a new boss, Mega Man 10 includes another throwback to earlier games. The bosses are Anchor, Punk, and Ballet, all bosses from the Mega Man Game Boy series, also known as Rockman World. That's awesome! Seeing these characters in full proper color in 8-bit is an awesome bonus, and because of the extra mile Mega Man 10 goes in the boss department, I have to give it the point once again. Next, let's talk about the stages. Each game has stages that are both fun to play and frustratingly difficult. Most fans argue that Mega Man 9 has the superior stages, and while they're fun and have cool new ideas, I'd have to disagree. Many of the screens require pixel-perfect precision, something that was common in the old games, but here, it's a design choice, not a hardware limitation. I like a good challenge as much as the next guy, but I'm sorry, I'm not nostalgic for these stage types, and for the love of God, I hate the disappearing platforms. I understand there's something most Mega Man games have, but they're frustrating and not fun. Even in the old games, most of these sections can be bypassed in some way, but in Mega Man 9, a few times, you're forced into them, and I'm sorry again, but when these sections span a good chunk of Plugman stage, okay, now you're overdoing it. Mega Man 10 thankfully does not contain too many of these segments, but that doesn't mean it isn't free of difficult stages, like the Sandstorm sections and Commando Man stage, for example. These can be just as annoying, but messing up in these parts is mostly on the player's fault and not the outdated platform mechanics. Another criticism to Mega Man 10's level design is that it feels catered to the new easy mode, which limits certain enemies and adds platforms over certain pits and spikes. I can see where this is coming from, but I don't feel it affects the level design. There was never a point where I said, wow, this game is easy. Even on the easy difficulty, the extra platforms only do so much. It still requires a player to learn the game. And I believe this may have been the decision to add an easy mode. When Mega Man 9 came out, I told everyone about it, and the common complaint I received from friends who had never played a Mega Man game before was that it was too hard. Easy mode was added really just for beginners and casual players, so the game would be more accessible to players of all skill levels. It's because of these improvements, yet again, point goes to Mega Man 10. Character-wise, Mega Man controls like he did in Mega Man 2, just jumping and shooting. It's the most basic of forms for him, and I'm kind of upset by that. Don't get me wrong, I love Mega Man 2, it's a fantastic game, and Mega Man controls really well. But after 8 games, giving us the Slide and Mega Buster, only to take them away from Mega Man and give them to Proto Man, is kinda shitty. Speaking of Proto Man, on top of having the Slide and Mega Buster, he also has a shield that can block some projectiles, and he takes double damage. Because challenge. Bass is by far my favorite character to play as. Like I stated before, he plays pretty much the same way he did in Mega Man and Bass. His Buster has rapid fire, he can shoot in all 8 directions, he can dash, and he can use the treble booster. My only complaints with Bass is that he has to be stationary in order to shoot, and his double jump is missing. But other than that, fans of his appearance in Mega Man and Bass will be satisfied with him in this game. As stated earlier, Mega Man and Proto Man are playable in both games, though in Mega Man 9 he is DLC. Bass is only playable in Mega Man 10, again as DLC. Even factoring out DLC, Mega Man 10 still offers more character options, which in turn adds replay value. Point goes to Mega Man 10. Continuing the tradition of the victor goes to spoils, Mega Man 9 and 10 both have an impressive array of weapons to choose from. This is another area where critics believe the weapon selection is better in Mega Man 9, but let's take a look anyways. The weapons in these games range from useful, situational, and almost useless. The useful weapons in Mega Man 9 are the Black Hole Bomb, which is literally a black hole that sucks everything into it, the Magma Bazooka, which can fire 3 shots and can be charged up, the Plug Ball, which runs across the ground, and the Tornado Blow, which not only hits the entire screen, but can also be used to elevate certain things. As for the situational weapons, there is the Concrete Shot, which can freeze enemies and create blocks to use as temporary platforms, the Hornet Chaser, which sends out a little hornet guy and grabs items, and the Laser Trident, which can break certain objects, leaving the Jewel Satellite that works a lot like the Junk Shield from Mega Man 7 as the almost useless weapon. In Mega Man 10, the useful weapons are the Commando Bomb, which can adjust its trajectory by 90-degree angles, the Rebound Striker that speeds up as it bounces off the walls, the Solar Blaze, which is a powerful fire wave that can split apart into 2 waves, and the Triple Blade that can fire 3 blades at once in an upward or downward fashion. The situational weapons include the Chill Spike, which shoots ice spikes on the ground that if touched will freeze an enemy, Wheel Cutter, which can be used to travel up walls, and the Water Shield, which unlike the Jewel Satellite covers more ground both defensively and offensively. And finally, the almost useless weapon, the Thunderbolt. This one is a tough call, as both games have an equal amount of weapons in each category, until you factor in the extra weapons which can be collected from the DLC bosses in Mega Man 10. These weapons include the Ballade Cracker, which are a lot like the Flash Bombs from Mega Man 8, the Mirror Buster, which can reflect enemy attacks, and the Screw Crusher, a powerful attack that arcs. On top of that, Bass's treble boost not only allows him to fly, but give him the ability to shoot 3 blasts at once. I know this might seem like a cop-out considering these are weapons from DLC bosses, and one of them is an upgrade, but it's good enough to decide this tiebreaker. Mega Man 10 scores the point. As you can probably tell, I've been favoring Mega Man 10 quite a bit. Well, this next section is harder to defend, and that's the music. This is the one place where I have to agree with the critics. Mega Man 9 has an awesome soundtrack. The composers went all out on this one, creating upbeat and catchy tunes, something the franchise is well known for. With this soundtrack, it's really hard to pick favorites, but if I gotta choose, then a few I like are Thunder Tornado, Concrete Jungle, Plug Electric, and Galaxy Fantasy. Mega Man 9 also borrows some classic tunes from Mega Man 2, such as the Victory, Game Over, and Castle themes, just to add to that nostalgic itch. Mega Man 10, on the other hand, goes for a cooler and more atmospheric soundtrack, and I feel it does this well with the formula. However, as much as I like the music, I have to admit, while it's an interesting experiment for Mega Man, it's not as good as the previous game's soundtracks. It's much easier to pick my favorites from this list because there's only a handful of songs I like from it, such as Fireball Strike, Nitro Rider, Solar Inferno, and Abandoned Memories. Unlike Mega Man 9, however, the game does not borrow themes from older games. Now, I can understand why they did this. Using all new themes makes the game's soundtrack unique and more complete. However, it doesn't fulfill that nostalgic factor that using those tracks would have done, which is strange because the game has tons of nostalgic content already within it. There's also one more thing I need to address. Back when the Happy Video Game Nerd did his review of Mega Man 10, he stated that none of the music tracks were catchy or memorable, and at first, I kind of agreed with him. But after playing through the game a few more times, I couldn't help but get some of these songs stuck in my head, to the point where I forgot if they were from Mega Man 9 or Mega Man 10. So Happy Nerd, allow me to take a page from your book. I'm sorry, but Derek, you gotta be out of your goddamn mind if you don't think these songs are catchy. Love your work, man. Seriously, from one Mega Man fan to another, I love what you do. But with all that said, Mega Man 9 has the stronger and superior soundtrack. Point goes to the 9. The graphics in both games are fantastic. They capture the classic NES Mega Man feel, but this time without hardware limitations. Character sprites are colorful, vivid, and animated well. Both games run at 60 frames per second flawlessly and keep things fluid. The stages are very detailed, not just in the foreground, but the background as well. However, while both games are pretty much on the same level graphics-wise, I have to give it to Mega Man 9 for going the extra mile on this one. There's more of an emphasis on color here, where Mega Man 10 goes into finer detail. Mega Man 9 also makes good use of weathering effects like rain and water. Not to mention, if you'd like to play the game within the NES limitations, there is a mode in Mega Man 9 where you can play the game as if it's running on an NES with all the slowdowns and flickering you could ever want. Mega Man 9 just goes that extra step, and for that, it's visually the better game. Mega Man 9 scores another point. Finally, let's talk about the endings, and yes, there will be spoilers. If you want to avoid spoilers, I'll put an annotation on the screen, or go to this timecode. Everybody got that? Okay, here we go. After defeating the Robot Masters in Mega Man 9, it is revealed from one of the robot's memory chips that Dr. Wily convinced the Robot Masters to join him. See, by this point, all robots have an expiration date, and robots past this date are to be deactivated and sent to the scrap heap. Dr. Wily says he'll repair the robots to make them useful again, which goes back to Mega Man 1, where he's taken someone else's robots and reprogrammed them to obey him. Now in Mega Man 10, Wily reveals on a Jumbotron that he is in fact responsible for the Robo-Enza, and that Mega Man has been infected, so he won't be coming to save anyone. Like Wily said, Mega Man or whoever you happen to be playing as comes down with Robo-Enza. In Mega Man's story, Roll gives up the prototype pill that she has for her Robo-Enza to Mega Man. In Proto Man's story, he gets a pill from Mega Man. And in Base's story, Treble shows up to give it to him. I like that, multiple storyline stuff. In Mega Man 9, after you beat the Wily machine, you have a final round against Wily in a new ship. And this battle is a lot like the final battle in Mega Man 7, but not nearly as difficult. After defeating Wily, it is revealed that he has Dr. Light captive in his base, which makes no sense because he was arrested by the police. Mega Man goes along with it anyways, only to be tricked and zapped by the fake Dr. Light robot Wily built for his blackmail video. As Dr. Wily hits the self-destruct button, Proto Man swoops in to save Mega Man. Now I know Mega Man is concerned for Dr. Light's safety, but how gullible does he have to be to believe Dr. Wily? Hell, even I'm not that dense. Regardless, the ending is okay in my books. In Mega Man 10, after defeating the Wily machines, Dr. Wily retreats to fucking space! I remember the first time I was playing this, I was like, oh cool, they're doing the second skull. Wait, where's it going? What the fuck? That was awesome! Okay, I'll stop ripping off sequelitis, I promise. After proceeding to kick Dr. Wily's ass effortlessly, he forgets he can't breathe in space and catches a cold, so he has to be brought back to the hospital. A few days later, Dr. Wily escapes the hospital, but leaves behind all his Robo-Enza pills to help all the infected robots. This at first confused me, but I imagine after being saved from dying in space, this was Wily's way of saying, there, now we're even! Though knowing Wily, it could have been another trap, but I guess not. This to me is a much better ending than gullible-ass Mega Man, and for the final point, Mega Man 10 takes it. Alright, to conclude, I think we can all see which game is better, but let me just say this. Who gives a fuck? Both are fantastic games and have redeeming qualities of their own. I originally decided to make this video because I was tired of all the praise Mega Man 9 was getting and all the hate Mega Man 10 got. Well, I say hate, but both games have pretty even scores as far as reviews are concerned. I think the expectations for Mega Man 10 were a little high, but I don't blame the fans, because I felt at first it was an unnecessary sequel. But after playing both games again, I see both the flaws and the positives, and while I personally prefer Mega Man 10, and I think it's a much better game, there is no denying that both games are masterpieces of retro game design. Inafune, Inji Creates, thank you for letting so many of us relive our childhood days playing Mega Man. Oh, and Capcom, would you start up Mega Man Legends 3 again? The 3DS has a huge market now, and Street Fighter Cross Mega Man is good, but it's not what we wanted. If it's management stopping you, in the very least, they can't ignore the fanbase's cry out for this game to be made. Don't you guys think it's about time you deliver on what you promised? Getting copies of Mega Man 9 and 10 is actually really easy these days. If you own any of the previous gen consoles, the Wii, the Xbox 360, or the PS3, it's available digitally on all those platforms. Hell, if you own a Wii U, as long as you still have the Wii Shop channel through the Wii section of the Wii U, you can get it for that as well. Though you'll have to access the Wii OS to be able to play it. The only other way to get the game is you can get it in the Capcom Essentials Collection, which comes with Devil May Cry 4, Dead Rising 2, Resident Evil 6, Super Street Fighter 4, and Mega Man 10. Though, while I show Mega Man 10 here in the case, it's really just a code on the back of this slip. It doesn't even get its own disc release, which makes sense, because why would Capcom spend the money to make a Blu-ray for a game that it doesn't even take up the size of a DVD? Unfortunately, if you're a PC, Linux, or Mac gamer, this game is not available for any computer platforms. So if you want to play them, you have to play them on the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii, or Wii U. But the games are still available for about $10 each, not including DLC. So anyways, that's it for me on this edition of They Made a Sequel. I'm going to give the show back to Blondy, so next time he'll be on there. And hey, if you like my stuff, you can check out my reviews. on rivercitygamers.wordpress.com or youtube.com/zeromasterreviews. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this edition of They Made a Sequel. Happy birthday, Blondie, and I'll see you next time.
Mega awesome.
Get Mega this March. Mega Man 10 does not include actual lasers.